Joust on the blue team will be preparing well for Friday's practice and the competition period we'll have. The biggest thing is, my biggest goal is to us to have an extremely competitive spring where there's winners and there's losers in almost every period we have. The kids have to learn that it's not just practice, it's competition, and there's got to be somebody that comes up with a win and a victory, and then the loser who has to learn how to deal with it and bounce back. And that's the approach we're taking. I've been really pleased with the progress of the kids. A lot of different individuals have done a lot of things that I've been pleased with. George Morris had a great run down the middle today. Adonis made a good play where he was dragging 4 and 5 guys with him to get a first down. I see good things out of Hickey and Trudeau. Robbie's playing the center position. He's been a guard for us. He's been working on his consistency with the snaps, and I've been pleased with his progress. Defensively, Dyshon Davis had a hell of a hit today. You guys would have liked to see that one on film. And I was pleased with, the energy of the defense, especially after that play. So it's been up and down and all around, but the competition is the key, and I was pleased with the way the guys got after it today.
Before spring practice started, you said that now with a year under your belt, could be a little bit more consistency. Have you gotten that? Have you gotten that sense yet?
Well, I think only time will tell. I think the consistency has to start with me, and I think, good leadership starts with consistent behavior from your head coach, from the boss, and that's something that I'm really trying to take pride in. I want to make sure the practices are organized inside and out. I want to make sure when we get to that practice field, the kids know where they need to be, and they're hustling from A to B as quickly as possible. And I want our coaching staff to take the lead and do a great job being the men in the room, and that's something that. Last year we were up and down at times, and it started with me. And I want that consistent level to be steady and progressing on an upward trend as we move throughout the course of spring. So I got to take a good look at it, watch that film, and say, if they don't understand it, then it's my fault. And when they do understand it, push them more to go to the next level on the next day. So for me, it'll be from Tuesday today, finishing up, watching that film tonight, to Friday's practice. I got to earn my money. And as a staff, we got to earn our money. And the thing I've enjoyed most is the kids have been anxious to see us, and that's what it's all about.
How much are you looking forward to that spring scrimmage, though? I mean, that's what this all leads up to.
Well, I think that the spring game is probably the most overrated part of the spring. We try to get our work in, and you get to the spring game, and the cameras are on, and you want to be careful about what you show, what you don't show, and you also want to get out of there healthy. I mean, that's what every coach in America says. So for me, it's the 14 days before that probably are more important than anything. The process from day 1 through day 4 as we sit here today to 5 and all the way through 14. And then we try to have some fun and play a spring game and put on a show for, the community, which is the key. Let the community come out and rally behind their team. I want the community to feel great about the fact that they can come to the Dome and watch our kids play their ass off. And I think that's what it's all about. I just want them to feel, proud of the fact that when they come and watch the Orange play, they play as hard as they can for as long as they can, and they don't worry. They just play ball. And that's what this city's about, a bunch of tough people that go to work every day, and that's what we want this football team to be about.
You mentioned last week about guys wanting to be leaders.
Yeah.
You brought up Marquise last year, and then you brought up Sean and Dyshon this year. Have they continued to progress?
So far, I still think it's too early to really say these are our leaders. That's something that happens day in, day out. You say which guys grind when it's hard. I think we have some candidates that will do a good job, and then as we push through spring ball and get into the summer, when the time is right, we'll have a team meeting and we'll vote on it. And the way we vote on it is the seniors get a vote, but their vote's worth 4 points. The juniors get a vote, their vote's worth 3. Sophomores 2, freshmen 1, because the guys that have been around know what's going on, know what we want. And the coaches get a vote, and they're worth 4 points, and that's how we did it last year. So there's a little bit more weight with leadership with the guys that have been around. I've been pleased with the work ethic of the kids. What you really look for, though, is who are your leaders when the coaches aren't around? Who are the leaders in the weight room? Who's taking care of business in the cafeteria? Who's making sure we're doing things right up on campus? And that's where I really start to, lean on those kids and say, who wants to be a leader, and more importantly, who needs to be a leader? And we have some good candidates, so it'll be interesting to see how that progresses over the course of the next few months.
Scott, you had obviously made the decision to bring George McDonald on as the wide receiver coach along with being offensive coordinator. What have you taken away from him through practices and how he's really seeing those receivers and leading them?
Yeah, well, he's an excellent technician. My early days coaching with George when he was in his mid-20s at Northern Illinois, it was a war every day. And we'd go to practice, and it was like it's on. We couldn't wait for one-on-ones. And I've been trying to work a little bit with the corners. And Coach Lester came up to me up in the hallway earlier today, and he said, one-on-ones, they feel like the way they're supposed to feel again. The kids are getting after each other. The coaches are getting after each other a little bit. So, that twinkle in his eye to be coaching those kids again is something I'm anxious to continue to watch as we move through, because he's a hell of a wide receiver coach. And I've seen development in 4 days with those kids. And, we may not have the most talent in that group yet, but we're developing it. And I really believe George will get the most out of those kids, as he always has.
Anybody stick out to you? I mean, you mentioned a couple people last time. You mentioned Corey Winfield and Brisley as well. Is anybody else sticking out?
Yeah, Ashton's practicing really well. Brisley's making plays all over the place. Jared West made a hell of a play at the end of the competition period today. Those guys jumped out a little bit today, but the other kids have been steady. Funderburg's doing a good job. He's been much more consistent, and I think that has a lot to do with his consistency off the field, so I'm proud of his progress. And then the two young Coreys are figuring out the notebook, and I think once they get that figured out, we'll have a couple good players for the next 4 years in both Winfield and Corey Cooper.